YOLO, what would you consider part of the American dream? Renting until the prices get jacked up so much that you live in a cardboard box on the street, or buying your own home with a little white picket fence and starting a family? Yeah, it's not really rocket science. But our chances of owning a home are incredibly slim based off of the current housing market. I was talking with one of my buddies the other day, and he said he genuinely believes he'll never own a home in his lifetime because by the time he saves up enough for a down payment, the prices of the homes will have increased, so his down payment will no longer be sufficient. And that was kind of sad to hear. The American dream has now become too expensive for anyone. So I started taking a look at what the median house prices and loan requirements were. And as of Q1 of 2025, the median home price in America was $420,000. Now, assuming you have a standard 20% down payment, that's about $84,000 out of your own pocket you have to put down just to be able to get the house. Then let's not forget you're stuck with $300,000+ of debt at roughly like 6.5% interest, depending on where your credit's at the time of trying to actually get a home loan. But let's say, hypothetically, you worked really hard for like 5 to 10 years, saved up every dollar you could, and finally hit that $84,000 just sitting there in your savings. You go to the bank to get a home loan, only to find out you don't qualify for the home loan. Because in order to get a loan that size, assuming you have good enough credit, you have to make over $108,000 a year. But let's not forget, as of Q1 of 2025, for a single individual working full-time, the median salary was $62,000 a year, which puts you roughly $40,000 or $48,000 shy of being able to qualify for the loan to buy the home. When you see things like that, it is kind of depressing, and I can understand where my friend's coming from. By the time he saves up to buy a home, the home prices will have probably increased and he will no longer be able to buy the home, and he can't even qualify for the home loan. However, there are ways to work around this. Step 1, be born with rich parents. Well, most of us don't have that. But what most of us are is young in our mid to late 20s, looking to actually start a life and buy a home, and we have never owned a home before. So we might be able to qualify for an FHA loan, a Federal Housing Administration loan. Typically, their minimum payment for a down payment, instead of 20%, they only require around a 3.5% down payment. So with an FHA loan, you would only need $14,700 for the down payment. Now, one of the requirements for the FHA loan is that you have not owned a home in the previous 3 years, or it is your first time home. On top of that, when you use this loan, it has to be for a primary residence. So you can't go buying a house that you're going to rent out to somebody else if you don't live in it. Which is where the workaround comes in. You can buy a multi-unit, non-commercial property. Think duplex, triplex, or quadplex. Anything more than quadplex counts as commercial real estate, so then you would not be able to qualify. But if you got a duplex or a triplex with the FHA loan, using the 3.5% down, used one of the units as your own primary residence, you would then be able to rent out the other 2 to 3 units and actually start producing income from the house, covering your mortgage, your insurance, water, electric, things like that, and then putting a small extra bit in your pocket. Let's say you ended up doing this and you bought a triplex and you were able to rent out the other 2 units for $1,500 a month. That's an extra $3,000 of income each month. That's going to cover your loan payment, any kind of insurance, sock away a little bit of money for taxes, and still leave you enough money on the side that you could either invest it, save it, or pay down your loan more aggressively. Another option you could try is seller financing. Instead of going to the bank and borrowing the $300-something thousand at like 6 to 10% interest rate, you could go to the seller of the home and tell them that you will pay the full amount over the course of, say, 15 to 30 years, depending on what kind of deal and what kind of seller you have, you might be able to get it for a 0% interest rate. That would be absolutely phenomenal for you. You could save tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, over the course of a typical loan life with a 0% interest rate. But more realistically, you'll give them some kind of an interest rate because they're doing you the solid of making sure your credit doesn't take a hit or you don't get disqualified for a loan because you make 68 or 70,000 when the loan requirements are 110,000 by that time. These are a couple of examples that you could use to make getting your first time home in this economy actually possible and not something you have to spend 30 years waiting for or never possibly even qualifying for. You don't know what you don't know, and there are always things out there that could be useful if you're able to take advantage of them. Of course, we wouldn't have to be worrying so much or working so hard to buy a house if the government would just ban any kind of entities or businesses from owning more than one or two single-family homes. If they put a cap like that, all the BlackRocks of the world would sell in mass their single-family homes, which would cause the price of homes to plummet, and then it would be a golden age for buying houses for people like us. But until that happens, we got to continue to find new and creative ways to be able to actually buy a home ourselves, because the standard go to the bank, get a loan just isn't really cutting it anymore for average people, because average people don't make enough to qualify for the loans. The housing market is too artificially inflated. But if we can continue to find more clever workarounds like FHA loans or seller financing, we can get our foot in the door, quite literally, and own our own home. Even if it is just a primary residence that only we live in, instead of a duplex or a triplex to try and build equity and make money. Some people just want to have 4 walls and a roof that they can call their own, so they can settle down and start a family. And that's not really that much to ask. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And let me know in the comments below if you know of any other creative ways to actually get your hands on a house in today's economy. And as always, I'll catch you on the flip side.